Today we're going to be tying a hidden bead dark Cahill. Really good spring searching pattern on the Mackenzie and on the Willamette system. I've got a number 12 3761 nymph hook, and I've got an 1/8 inch tungsten bead that I've got positioned at the front of the hook, but later on we're going to kind of move it. So I'm going to start the thread behind the bead, work it back to above the barb. It's this black 6/0 uni thread. You could use 8/0, doesn't make much of a difference. So here I've got a India henback in the natural color. It's a brown speckled feather. I think really neat. I've been using it a bunch in different wet fly applications. So I've stripped some off of a bigger feather from the back of the neck. I've got myself just a small little bundle of tail fibers. I'm going to measure those to be approximately the same length as the hook shank. Transfer hands, snip off the desired butt section so I've got the right size. I'm going to tie that directly above the barb. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a wool body out of a product called uni yarn. This particular one is dark gray in color. I'm going to cut off about 6 inches of that yarn, and I'm going to tie it in so that the first half is kind of making a transition down the shank so that we don't have a big lumpy tie-in point.
And you're doing this uni yarn in place of dubbing traditionally.
Correct. This is just an easier way to do it. You could have this on a spool. You know, one of the big problems we always have is people coming into the shop and saying, well, you know, I tried to dub the body, but it just didn't really come out that well. That's a whole nother dubbing lesson. This makes a nice body that looks very similar to the tradition, but it's an easy wrap forward type of step. We're just going to advance this gray uni yarn forward. And we're going to advance this to just past the halfway mark, building up that body. And I might have to wrap back over just a little tiny bit to get that body exactly the way that we want it. You know, thickness-wise, dimensions-wise. Tie that yarn off. So you can see it just wound right on. Gives it kind of a fuzzy little look. So right here I'm going to take my whip finishing tool, and I'm just going to make a couple wraps and kind of lock that down. This is why I call it the hidden bead. I've made my body, got my tail on there. I'm going to slide my bead back so that it covers up part of the dub body, and I'm going to wrap my hackle directly in front of that. So I've selected another one of the India hen back feathers. This one, the appropriate size for a wet fly, a number 12.
And so you want that to go back how far in terms of barbules?
I'm going to snip back past the fluffy materials and just get into that real pure speckled fiber in there. You know, the classic wide webby look of a wet fly hackle.
But lengthwise, how are you selecting your feather?
I'll take my, if you don't have a hackle guard gauge like this, you can take the feather, you can kind of point the stem towards the eye of the hook and see how far back the side plume comes off. I want that plume to be approximately the same length as the body. Tie that right in front of that bead. So now I'm going to grab my hackle pliers and I'm going to make approximately 3 wraps of this hackle. Each time I make a wrap, I'm going to just kind of slick it back and out of the way. Clip off my tag end and take those plumes. I'm just going to kind of prep them for my wet fly wing. I'll just kind of take the fibers, slide them off to the side, create a little open space in the top. Now I've got a wood duck feather, that kind of lemony yellow type of feather. I'm going to take the stem and I'm going to strip down for sure one side. And then what I'll usually do is kind of see how much of that feather actually I've got for a rolled type wing. So that one doesn't look like it's enough mass for me, so I'll go ahead and I'll strip down some on the other side as well. I'm going to take the points of those wood duck feathers and I'm going to line them all up. I'm going to go in, I'm going to measure the wing.
And do you like to use the natural curve of the feather, or are you worried about that?
I'm not super concerned about it. Generally speaking, once they get wet, they are kind of all clumped together. I do want to look relatively smooth. You know, you don't want to have it really sticking up all over the place, although I really don't know that the fish care that much. I've measured it out so that I've got the length, which is approximately from the eye of the hook to right where the tail starts. Snip off my spare material. Build up a small head. And then I'm going to take my whip finishing tool. Whip finish it up. And there you have a hidden bead Cahill with the wool uni yarn body.
Deadly.